It's a little bit of a botched intro right there. What are we gonna fucking do? It's a live stream. I don't care, but I would like to welcome each and every single one of you back here to the channel on YouTube.com. As of course, you already know who I am, Mr. Controversy, and the operator of the best damn Twitter handle, no. Woo! Feel that? You smell that? That right there, you know what it is. It's the smell of excellence. Wait for it. Wait for it. To mankind! Woo! I am on fire, baby. I am on fire. DJ Storms is on fire. Woo! DJ Storms is on fire. I'm walking on fire. DJ Storms is on fire. You already know the drill. You already know the drill. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome each and every single one of you to the official rewind for WWE SummerSlam 2022, which of course streamed live last night on Peacock, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time from the Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. For 5 years, ever since I started this channel, my first video was July 16th, 2017. I was doing Periscope before then, if you guys remember that. I was doing a lot of Periscope streams before then, before I ditched that and went over to YouTube. Haven't looked back since. For 5 straight years, I have ranted, I've raved, I've screamed, I've yelled, I have blown my voice out. I've been on the verge of throwing this chair through the window to my side over here. I've been on the verge of taking my microphone and just smashing the flat screen behind me to bits and pieces. I have shit and completely ripped the WWE product to shreds. Week in and week out, whether it be on the Lightning Flash update, the rundown, the rewind, a special stream, every single chance that I got, I completely tore the WWE product to shreds, and rightfully fucking so. Rightfully so. I don't give a shit how long you've been watching the company. I don't give a shit if you know someone within the company. I don't give a shit how many billions they're making. There is no excuses for the truthful fact that the WWE product has been the worst wrestling product in the entire industry for God knows how long. And they've gotten worse year over year over year over year. Over a week ago, Vince McMahon announced that he is officially retiring. Stephanie McMahon was appointed the new chairwoman and co-CEO, along with Nick Khan. And then mere days after that, it was announced via WWE themselves that Triple H would be taking over WWE's creative writing duties. And Triple H is now running the ship, with Stephanie pretty much handling the business portion of it. Triple H is handling the creative writing aspect of it. Throughout all of the times that I've ever shit on the WWE product, I've shit on the fans, and I shit on the WWE fans because whether you want to admit it or not, and this is not me trying to instigate an argument, who the fuck am I kidding? This is all I fucking do. WWE fans, and I'm talking about die-hard WWE fans. I'm talking about through and through WWE fans. I'm talking about shills. WWE fans, WWE shills, WWE bootlickers are undoubtedly the most retarded individuals in the entire wrestling community right now. All they do is find ways to defend WWE even when there is absolutely nothing about a show, an angle, a match, or the company in general to defend them about. I don't give a shit how much money they're making. I don't give a shit what Vince McMahon did in the past. At the end of the fucking day, the WWE product has sucked donkey balls for years now. All I've ever wanted, and all the normal fans, like me, a lot of fans in here, Earl, and Mitch, and Alan, shout out to a couple of people in here, Dee Dee too. All we've ever wanted, the normal fans, the pro wrestling fans, all we've ever wanted was for the WWE product to get better. All we wanted was a more serious product. All we wanted was a product around sports-driven initiatives. All we wanted was serious storytelling, not soap operas. All we wanted was people going out there showing to us why they are the best athletes in the world. All we wanted was the company to build new stars and let go of the past. All we've wanted was a good wrestling product. And I've said it over and over again, and I'm not the only one. There are so many people, podcasters, analysts, YouTubers, fans, etc., everyone far and few in between, everyone in between saying the same thing as me. I am not the only one. There are content creators bigger and smaller than me that have said the same fucking thing. We don't complain just to complain. We don't hate watch. We watch because we're fans and we legitimately want the product to succeed. It's like your favorite sports team. I'm not going to stop being a fan of the New York Giants, even though I know the New York Giants have sucked ass ever since they won the Super Bowl all the way back in 2012 when they beat the New England Patriots. I'm not going to stop being a fan of the Giants, but I am going to call them out when they fucking suck, and they've sucked. Same thing with the Yankees. I've been a Yankees fan for over 13, 14 years. I'm not just going to sit here and say, oh yeah, the Yankees are doing great. No, when they suck, they suck. All the wrestling fans that have ever shit on WWE, all we've wanted was a better product. SummerSlam 2022 had perhaps the worst build in the history of SummerSlam. SummerSlam 2022 was undoubtedly the worst built SummerSlam of all time. There was absolutely no hype going into this. There was no hype surrounding this until 7 days ago. And the only reason why it had any hype was because Triple H took over, and we wanted to see what Triple H would do with what he's been given. Whether you want to admit it or not, NXT, the black and gold era of NXT, NXT 1.0, the Triple H NXT, because Triple H was physically, forcefully removed from power by Bruce and Vince McMahon, and they took over NXT, and they built it in their fucking vision. What we got with Triple H and the black and gold NXT was undoubtedly the perfect wrestling product. Everyone loved it. The only people that didn't like it and the only people that didn't connect with it were these fucking casual losers that didn't know jack shit about pro wrestling. Casual wrestling fans aren't even pro wrestling fans in general. Casual wrestling fans don't even exist anymore because the product sucks. So they stopped watching because they don't got no passion. I got passion. Real wrestling fans, we got passion. Triple H and the black and gold era of NXT was undoubtedly the best era of pro wrestling in the last 20 years. Vince McMahon destroyed it. Vince McMahon destroyed it. So, when Triple H took over, and when he regained that power, what that was a symbol of hope. It was a symbol of hope. It was a symbol of optimism. And it was a symbol of change. And I don't give a shit. You can call me whatever the fuck you want. But at the end of the day, I am passionate about this great sport. And I love this fucking sport. And if you don't have the same passion about this sport, then get the fuck out of the fucking wrestling community. You do not deserve to be a wrestling fan. You don't deserve to be talking about pro wrestling. If you do not have this passion, get the fuck out. Find yourself a new hobby and get the fuck out of my life. Triple H taking over was a symbol of hope. It was a symbol of change. It was the winds of change blowing, and we felt it. We felt the winds of change blowing in our faces. And what we got with SummerSlam, what looked to be the worst wrestling show of the year on paper, what looked to be a shit show, Triple H went in there and he turned chicken shit into a damn good chicken salad. This was perhaps the best SummerSlam that we've had in nearly a decade. The last really good SummerSlam that I can honestly tell you was, the honest to God, the last really good SummerSlam that we've had was probably SummerSlam 2014. I remember that show. Dolph Ziggler won the Intercontinental Championship on that show. That was back when people actually gave a shit about Dolph Ziggler. Bray Wyatt and Chris Jericho had a very good match. Bray Wyatt got the win there. Roman Reigns and Randy Orton had a very good match. We had Jon Moxley, then Dean Ambrose taking on Seth Rollins in a crazy fucking lumberjack match. That was a great lumberjack match. It's probably the last great lumberjack match that we've actually had. And then in the main event, John Cena versus Brock Lesnar in what was perhaps the greatest squash match of all time. Brock Lesnar absolutely brutalized John Cena, and I enjoyed every fucking minute of it. It's phenomenal. SummerSlam has not felt like SummerSlam in nearly a decade. Now we're sitting on July 31st, one day, less than a day, removed from SummerSlam, and Triple H went in there, and he made the absolute most of what he was given, and he gave us what was a very good wrestling show, and what was a great start to his reign of power as WWE head of creative. This right here is exactly what we've needed. What we got last night was exactly what we've needed. And the general public, the general feeling in the IWC was a positive feel. The overall feel was a positive feel. And you know why? Because there was change in the air. You felt a different vibe. All of the matches were given ample amount of time. All the matches had the right outcomes to it. All the matches were produced exactly how they needed to be produced. Everything flowed very, very nicely. There were a lot of down points in the show, but the good ended up outweighing the bad at the end of the day. And we have all the pieces in place going into the future. Triple H is placing all of the right people in the right places going into the future, into the fall, into the winter, going into next year to build a great wrestling product, to rebuild WWE in the image that it should have been built in for years now. All the right people are being placed in the right places, most specifically the women. You take a look at the booking of the women's matches and the women's division on SummerSlam last night. The women's division and the landscape of the women's division is being rejuvenated right before our very eyes. It's being revived. Now, Triple H, seeing what Tony Khan's been doing and how Tony Khan's been giving the women opportunities, and you see the matches that the AEW women have been putting on with Serena Deeb and Mercedes Martinez, Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, Chris Statlander, Ruby Soho, and what they've been doing. Now Triple H is going to look to not only get up to par with what Tony Khan's doing, but now he's going to outdo what Tony Khan has been doing. And he was outdoing what Tony Khan was doing well fucking before AEW was even a thing. SummerSlam 2022 ended up being probably the best flowing pay-per-view of the year. Probably right behind WrestleMania 38, night number 1. That was a great show. This was a very well-paced, very good show. Despite the shit card and despite the predictability of some of these matches, SummerSlam 2022 ended up being a very good in-ring wrestling show. And everyone should be excited for the future. And if you're not excited for the future with Triple H now as the head of creative, then you know what? You got a fucking mental issue that you need to tackle on your own. What we have right now is the most exciting time to be a wrestling fan since the Attitude Era. The Attitude Era will always be a special time. It will always be a special era. But now we could be looking at an era of wrestling where every single company, including the WWE, is at its peak in terms of in-ring performances. Now we are going to get something that we should have gotten years ago. Triple H is going to rejuvenate and rebuild the WWE product back to prominence. It's going to be a while. It's going to take months going into the next few years. It's going to take a long time for Triple H to rebuild and reconstruct everything that Vince McMahon fucking killed and destroyed over the course of the last decade plus. It's going to take a long time. But if anyone can do it, it's Triple H. And I have full faith that he's going to do it. SummerSlam 2022, very, very good show. We're going to talk about it. We're going to dissect the good, dissect the bad, and we are going to talk about the winners and the losers of SummerSlam 2022's card. But first things first, I'm going to check the chat here. Thank you to everyone watching right now. We got 10 likes. Shout out to AK Eagles. Shout out to DJ Sums. Shout out to Earl Cole, Alan Holland, and everyone else in the chat. Please make sure, if you haven't already done so, to follow me on social media. Follow me on social media at HistoryMakerDJS. That is at HistoryMakerDJS, both on Twitter and Instagram. Add me on Facebook for collaborations and business inquiries. Please be sure that you send me an email. My email is, of course, StormsTakeOver@gmail.com. Like the official DJ Storms business page, and I may just send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms Posse group on Facebook. That is, all of the links are currently in the description as we speak. Be sure to check out the Lightning Flash update from yesterday. That stream has done very, very well. Let me check the view count on that. We're at 160 views. Yes, I'm looking at it right now. We are at exactly 160 views for the Lightning Flash update from yesterday, and it was a great fucking stream. Very, very happy to see that, even though Hardcore Sports has been acting weird. We found out what was wrong. I talked to AK, I talked to Mitch, I talked to Tyler Schlendorn, and apparently someone, we don't know who, but someone has decided to do this. Someone has decided to hack into Hardcore Sports. Someone got the password, and someone has just decided to be an immature bitch and decided to delete shit over and over and over again for no fucking reason. I don't know why. It is fucking retarded. Whoever does that shit, I'm telling you, you got a serious mental problem. You need to get yourself a fucking life. But Tyler Schlendorn is currently working on that, and hopefully we'll be back up and running. We'll be back up and running on Hardcore Sports very, very soon. We'll be back up and running on Hardcore Sports, and we are going to be back in the game, hopefully this Thursday, for the rundown for AEW Battle of the Belts Part Number 3. I'll be going live Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time before Battle of the Belts, which is on Saturday, August 6th. And then we got the LFU that day. Battle of the Belts will be later that evening. And then on Tuesday, I'll be doing a rewind. That Tuesday at around 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be doing a rewind for AEW Battle of the Belts Part Number 3. Shout out to Normal Guy and shout out to Jeffrey Turner, both in the chat. Thank you for stopping by. Greatly appreciate you both. You guys are fantastic. Please make sure you check out Hardcore Sports as well. Check out Hardcore Sports. You got a great crew over there. Mitch Kofsky, AK Eagles, and Mr. Jeffrey Turner. They are all associated with the Hardcore Sports brand. All of the Hardcore Sports social media links are currently in the description right now. You can follow them on Twitch at Hardcore Sports 1. Follow them on Instagram at Hardcore Sports Network. Follow them on Twitter at Hardcore Sports N. And, of course, you can subscribe to them on YouTube at Hardcore Sports Network. All of those links currently in the description right now. Go and check them out. It is extremely vital that you do so. We have a lot of great material coming to you, and hopefully everyone should be back up and running on the Hardcore Sports channel once we go throughout the week and we get everything sorted out. Tyler Schlendorn and AK Eagles podcast, they are currently handling that right now since they are the top two bosses over there. So shout out to them. Do not worry. We are going to sort everything out, and we'll be back up and running on the Hardcore Sports channel, and we are going to grow that brand faster than we've ever grown a brand ever. I'm telling you right now, Hardcore Sports is going to be the place to fucking be. So do not worry. We are over 20 minutes into the stream. Let me tell you something. I don't know what the fuck you guys are doing, but if you're coming on into the stream, what I need y'all to do is I need you to like the fucking stream. It is extremely vital that you do so. I see that the shooter actually decided to drop by. Please, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already done so, please make sure you hit the like button when you come on in. We got 12 likes so far. I think we can do better than that. Hit me up with some more likes. We got 12 likes, and please make sure that you share the stream out on all platforms of social media. It is extremely vital that you do so. Share it out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitch. Right now, we're just streaming live on my channel up until we get everything regarding Hardcore Sports fixed, and we will get it fixed ASAP. So right now, what I need y'all to do, share the stream out on all platforms, social media, so that way we can get as many people in here as we possibly can. And then, after you do that, you got to hit the subscribe button. Helps me out. It helps the channel out. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And be sure to hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace. That way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, baby, it is the best time to be on YouTube. And this is Earl Cole's favorite part of the stream because it's the only time you're going to get to see this glorious sideburn chin strap combination and this beautiful mustache right here. Yo, Earl, it's your time, baby. It's the magic comb time because we're going to light it up right here on the channel with a little and a dash of and a whole lot of Because like Campbell's soup, I'm so good. The tastiest snack in the IWC. All the ladies want a piece of DJ Storms. Though they may not admit it, oh, trust me, they are swooning over me behind their phone screens. Anyway. Enough of the self-brand promotion and the advertisements. We are going to get straight into the festivities here. SummerSlam. SummerSlam kicked off with Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. Becky Lynch still looked terrible, but hopefully this is the last time we're going to have to watch her come out with these ridiculously looking outfits. So what happened was Becky Lynch, she came out, and normally she has this Megatron-like gear. She looks like a fucking Transformer. On this show, if you guys remember, there was a show on Cartoon Network all the way back in the day. I think it was called Ben 10. It's called Ben 10. It was about a kid that found a crazy fucking watch from outer space, and he could turn into aliens by pressing the watch down. And there was this one alien that he could turn into, and it was a legit fire guy. It was a guy made out of lava rocks and fire, and he called it Heat Blast. You guys know what I'm talking about if you watch Ben 10. I watched Ben 10. It was one of my favorite shows growing up as a kid on Cartoon Network. So Becky Lynch legitimately looked like a combination of Megatron and Heat Blast. I don't know what the fuck she was wearing, but She looked fucking retarded. And I hope to God that this is the last time we're going to have to watch her come out looking like a Lady Gaga Power Ranger cosplay. So, the match itself was a great wrestling match. Great wrestling match here. Not as good as their WrestleMania match. Their WrestleMania match was clearly better, but this match was still a great match. I feel as though the match started off a little bit off, and what I mean by that is the crowd wasn't that much into it, and the reason being is because how could they be into something that they've seen about 8 different times in the last year? So at the end of the day, what the fuck does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. We know what we're getting with these two women. So what is there to be excited about? So it was a very technical start. Lynch then targeted the arm of Bianca Belair. Belair with a glam slam and a standing moonsault for a 2. Lynch then draped Bianca over the barricade and delivered a guillotine leg drop over the barricade. Back in the ring, Bianca was worn down. Becky with a modified armbar. Bianca then delivered a vertical suplex on the floor. Lynch then came back with the Diamond Dust, which is a flipping stunner out of the corner for a 2. Bianca with a deadlift alley-oop. Lynch rolled into a disarmer. Bianca got out of it quick. Bianca with a KOD on the floor. Both women made it back into the ring. Bianca with a spine buster. Bianca then went up top. Becky went up top too. Becky was then shoved off the top. Becky pulled Bianca down by her braid and then delivered a manhandle slam. Bianca just kicked out. That was a great near fall. Becky went up to the top. She was looking for an avalanche manhandle slam to Bianca. Bianca with a beautiful Spanish fly from the middle rope, and then she delivered the KOD, and Bianca Belair retains the Raw Women's Championship in a great opening match. Let me tell you something. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Becky Lynch has been a fucking parasite. She's a parasite. She's a bitch. She's a cunt. I can call her every name under the sun, and it would be 1,000% justified. But this is probably the best in-ring wrestling version of Becky Lynch that we've ever seen. Becky Lynch is probably doing the best in-ring work of her career. This was the worst character work of her career, but this was absolutely the best in-ring work of her career. After the match, and this was great, Becky then extended her hand. Bianca accepted, and they had a nice wholesome moment with a handshake and a hug. And it was reported that Becky Lynch's babyface turn here at SummerSlam, this wasn't the end, but this was the beginning stages of it. Becky Lynch's babyface turn, this was one of Triple H's major changes on the SummerSlam card. And this is a great fucking thing to see. Triple H knew that Becky Lynch and her heel run has been undoubtedly, undisputably, unequivocally, positively horrendous in every sense of the word. Becky Lynch's heel run has been terrible. She's been the worst heel in the entire wrestling industry. She's no better than fucking Lacey Evans in terms of character work. Triple H knew it was failing. What did he do? Switched it right around. And this was the perfect time to do it. This wasn't the end. This wasn't the end. This may have been the highlight of SummerSlam right here. This may have been the highlight of SummerSlam right here. So after that, Bianca's celebrating. All of a sudden, Bayley's music hits and Bayley returns. She then asked from the ramp, "Hey, Bianca, do you remember me?" All of a sudden, Dakota Kai came out. Yes, Dakota Kai, the woman that got fired during the budget cut spiel and the whole budget cut day all the way back at the end of April. She got fired. What did Triple H do? New regime, new men in power. Brought her back. Excellent. Brought her back, brought her right up to the main roster, paired her with Bayley. Not only that, I thought that was it. That wasn't it. Io Shirai, who right now is undoubtedly the best women's wrestler in the company as we speak. Io Shirai. They're now calling her Io Sky. I don't know why. I'm guessing that Triple H needed to kind of show Vince McMahon, hey, don't worry, I'm still doing what you need me to do. I'm still making changes. I'm still running WWE the Vince McMahon way. Obviously, it's going to take a little bit longer for shit to completely change, but I have a feeling Triple H did that just to calm Vince McMahon's nerves. Vince McMahon was probably up in Stamford, legitimately breaking everything in his mansion when he watched this. But she is now known as Io Sky. It's fucking stupid. It's fucking stupid. Not as bad as what it could have been, but it's fucking stupid. The name change is fucking stupid. But she's paired with Bayley. After this, they went into the ring, stood face-to-face with Bianca. All of a sudden, Becky Lynch then came into the ring, stood side by side with Bianca against Bayley and her crew. Bianca and Becky stood side by side until Bayley and her crew backed off, which I don't know why, because again, it was 3-on-2. They could have easily taken them. But this was fucking amazing. This was great. I have not been this hyped about WWE women's wrestling in God knows how long. And I'll tell you why. The WWE's women's division has been nothing but the same repetitive faces over and over again. Alexa, Ronda, Charlotte, Becky. You added Bianca. Bianca's legitimately been the only woman that has broken out of this glass ceiling that Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard have placed underneath the women who are not one of the 4 horsewomen, or they don't look like a porn star like Alexa Bliss. Bianca's legitimately been the only one that's broken out. Now we got Dakota Kai and we got Io Shirai, Io Sky, whatever the fuck you want to call her. We got those 2 women paired with Bayley, and now Bayley is going to extend her star power to those 2 women, and those 2 women are now in a prominent spotlight on the main roster. And now with Becky as a babyface, being the babyface that we know she should be because she's a terrible fucking heel, all the pieces for a great women's division in WWE are starting to fall in place. Now look at the WWE's women's division. Look at what they did. They rejuvenated that women's division just like that. And that was not over. It was not over. The women's division was still going to be rejuvenated later on in the night with Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey. We'll talk about that as well. We got a great opening match followed up by the return of Dakota Kai and the debut of Io Shirai. And now those 2 women being paired with Bayley. This is going to be a great program for Bianca. This is single-handedly rejuvenated Bianca's championship title reign. And above all else, this has rejuvenated the women's division. Now we actually have something to look forward to in the women's division. The women's division may very well become the best thing about WWE programming with what Triple H did here. This right here is exactly what we needed, and Triple H fucking delivered. Triple H delivered. Now we are on our way to having the women's division that WWE should have had all those many years ago, that they should have had from day one when they got rid of the Divas Championship and they got rid of that meaning. And the women were now called wrestlers and the women were now called superstars. Now, WWE is finally in the position, finally, after all of these years, where we can finally get on track and push women's wrestling the way it should be pushed. This is great, and this is the change that we are talking about. This is the change. This is that new vibe, that new generational change that we've been desiring for so long. This has so many possibilities to it you do not even realize. This is phenomenal. This is going to be great for women's wrestling. Now we are going to be embarking on a journey that Triple H is going to take us on in the world of women's wrestling in WWE that's going to captivate us. Something that Vince McMahon could never do. I love this. This is great. This is great. I see we got a couple new people in the chat. The chat's rocking and rolling. We got 15 people watching. I see Bam Cristiano. He decided to stop by, as well as Big Boy Johnny. Please make sure that you're hitting that like button. Raphael came in too. We got a raucous chat here for the rewind for SummerSlam. I like that shit. I like this. I'm loving it. Here's what I need y'all to do. Everyone in the chat, I'm going to need y'all to like the video and share it out on all platforms, social media. We got 17 people watching right now. I like that shit. I like that shit. Really good stuff, people. Keep it going. Let's get some more people in here. But the opening match, excellent women's match. Not as good as the match from WrestleMania, but still a very good match. And Bianca Belair retains the championship. Becky is now in the correct role as a babyface. And we got Io Shirai, or Io Sky, and Dakota Kai now a part of the women's division. This is a great time if you're a women's wrestling fan, which I am. This is a great time to be a women's wrestling fan here in WWE. This is phenomenal. And I mean phenomenal. So from there, we go into Logan Paul. Logan Paul versus The Miz. Now, I was actually shocked that they put this match on this early. However, I was actually intrigued by this match because Logan Paul, he did great at WrestleMania. He did phenomenal at WrestleMania. I wanted to see what he could do in terms of a singles match. And The Miz was probably his best opponent because The Miz, we hate on him all the time, but he is undoubtedly a very safe worker, and he can pretty much work with anyone that he wants. Not saying that all the matches that he puts on are good, but The Miz can work with anyone. So, I didn't know what to expect from this, but I look back on this, and I can honestly tell you, if anyone was to tell me, if anyone in this chat or any wrestling fan was to tell me that The Miz and Logan Paul was their favorite match on the entire SummerSlam card, that The Miz and Logan Paul was the best match on SummerSlam's card, from top to bottom, Miz and Logan Paul stole the show, I would not argue you. I would not debate you. I would not try to instigate a fight with you whatsoever. I don't even know how this came to be, but this was the best Miz match ever since his match with Bryan Danielson 4 years ago, ironically, at this very same pay-per-view. The last great Miz match that we saw was Miz and Bryan Danielson 4 years ago at SummerSlam 2018. And I'm not talking about any of these celebrity tag team matches or anything that The Miz did with Morrison. I'm talking about one-on-one Miz singles matches. There has not been a great or even a good Miz singles match since that match with Danielson. Logan Paul went out there and he took to pro wrestling like a fucking fish to water. No matter what you may think of him, personally, Logan Paul can be a fucking retard in certain aspects. I don't necessarily completely hate him. He said a lot of stupid shit, but he's not necessarily said stupid shit about the things that I'm really passionate about. I never really cared for Logan Paul, so I cannot necessarily say that I hate him. He can be a retard in certain aspects, but I can't say that I've necessarily hated him. But now when I look at him in the world of wrestling, it's like this guy was fucking bred for pro wrestling. He has wrestled 2 matches, and he's been wrestling. It looks like he's been wrestling for 2,000 matches. I don't even know how he's gotten this good. He must legitimately be a real athlete. He must legitimately be a real athlete. I do not even know how Logan Paul became this good, but Logan Paul shocked the fucking world. Many people are saying this may be the best celebrity match in pro wrestling of all time. I wouldn't debate that either. Some people could say Logan Paul, some people could say Pat McAfee. If you were to say Logan Paul, I wouldn't attempt to argue with you. This match was fucking excellent. May have been the match of the night. This may have been the absolute best match of the night. It was unreal. I can't even believe what I'm saying. So The Miz started off this match. He mocked Logan Paul. Logan Paul came in with a nice takedown. He was like doing these swift wrestling chain holds and fireman's carry takedowns. It's like he was wrestling for the last decade. So Logan Paul with some stiff hands, and then The Miz was sent to the floor. Logan Paul with a beautiful standing moonsault. Now listen, some people need to do a springboard moonsault to get air. It's like Logan Paul had fucking springs in his feet. He did a standing moonsault from the apron, no springboard. Standing moonsault from the apron, no fucking springboard onto The Miz. Paul, then with some stiff chops, and they were some stiff chops too. He was fucking laying it into The Miz. Logan Paul's got some nice fucking chops. Miz came in with a code breaker out of the corner. The Miz then regained control. Ciampa obviously with a cheap shot behind the referee's back. Miz was in control. Paul then came back with a beautiful middle rope blockbuster and then a running power slam for a 2. Paul with some chest kicks, and then he locked The Miz in a figure 4. Tribute to Ric Flair, who's having his last match tonight. I actually hope that it goes very well. So The Miz got to the ropes. Paul with a diving crossbody, and then he followed up with a standing moonsault for a 2. Ciampa tried to get involved. All of a sudden, the referee caught him. The ref caught him, and he ejected The Miz. He ejected Ciampa. The ref caught Ciampa, trying to assist The Miz. He ejected Ciampa, but Ciampa refused and sat down in a chair like a fucking petulant child. AJ Styles then came out. Styles came from the crowd, and he attacked Ciampa, and they brawled into the crowd, and they were pretty much gone. So Paul then came in with a phenomenal forearm to The Miz. Not as good as AJ Styles, but pretty decent-looking phenomenal forearm. The Miz just kicked out. Many people thought that was it. Paul then tore apart the announce table. The Miz was placed on the table. Paul went up to the top rope, and he looked at Maurice, threw his elbow pad at Maurice, and he goes, "Watch what I do to your husband." Great little detail right there by Paul. Paul with a beautiful fucking frog splash from the top, soaring through the air, through the table. The table just shatters. Maurice can't fucking believe what she just watched. Maurice then caused a distraction with both men back in the ring. Miz took a chain. He had a chain. Miz took a chain. Now, this chain had a card. Now, you remember when Logan Paul came out with the most expensive Pokemon card around his neck in a glass container? The Miz came in with a plastic container with a card with bedazzled rhinestones and a chain on it. And the card was of when The Miz took out Logan Paul at WrestleMania. So The Miz tried to hit Logan Paul with it. He almost hit Maurice. Miz was distracted. Paul delivered a decent-looking skull-crushing finale to The Miz and pinned The Miz 1, 2, 3, and Logan Paul gets the win. Actually, he got a big babyface reaction. I didn't know what to fucking think of this, but holy shit. The Miz came in and he delivered his best match in 4 fucking years, in nearly half a decade with Logan Paul. Props to the fucking Miz. Now, if Miz wrestled every fucking match like this, maybe I'd actually enjoy The Miz on television. Logan Paul, he was bred for pro wrestling. If this is the type of performance that we're going to get from Logan Paul every single time that he wrestles, you are not going to hear one fucking complaint out of me. This is what we need. And Logan Paul, it goes to show you how much passion and how much respect Logan Paul has for the business, that he worked his ass off to train to get this good. And that I can appreciate. That I can appreciate. This was a tremendous, a fantastic, an excellent match from start to finish. May very well have been match of the night. I can't even believe how good this match was. Now, where do we go from here? Based on what happened with Styles and Ciampa, normally I'd be a little pissed about this because I would just want this shit to end. I just want Logan Paul to go back to doing whatever he's doing and The Miz to get off television completely. But for some odd reason, I don't mind this. Styles was not on the SummerSlam card in a wrestling role, which is criminal. You're not going to leave him off the Cardiff Wales show. So, By that logic, what we need is we need a tag team match. And I honestly believe that with 5 weeks to go to Clash at the Castle, they're going to load up Clash at the Castle to be a great show in its own right. It looks like we could very well be getting AJ Styles and Logan Paul versus The Miz and Ciampa. And if that's the case, that should be the end of this feud, and that should be the last straw, the straw that broke the camel's back for The Miz and Ciampa to split up. Ciampa needs to be on his own. Triple H, he knew that the Becky Lynch heel turn sucked. Ronda Rousey as a babyface sucked. He knew that that shit sucked. So now he needs to focus on Ciampa. Ciampa is NXT black and gold through and through, right down to his core. Ciampa needs to be on his own. Triple H knows that this partnership with The Miz and Ciampa is fucking terrible. All you need to do the tag team match at Clash at the Castle. And if what we got here was excellent, if this was great, we'll get another great tag team match between Styles, Logan Paul, Miz, and Ciampa at Clash at the Castle. And then after that, Styles and Logan Paul get the win. Ciampa and The Miz split up. And then Ciampa can go and feud with Bobby Lashley for the United States Championship. Simple. Simple. That's where I think that we're headed. We're headed towards a tag team match with The Miz and Ciampa taking on Styles and Logan Paul at Clash at the Castle, which I will say I don't have an issue with. Normally I would, but with Triple H now running the ship, with Triple H in power, I really don't have an issue with it. I can't really complain about it. If the match with Miz and Logan Paul and the Mysterios were very good, we should get another great match here with Styles, Logan Paul, Miz, and Ciampa. I can't complain about it. This match was tremendous. This match was amazing. I cannot even begin to tell you how good Logan Paul is. I wasn't expecting shit from him. Logan Paul in his last 2 outings completely blew everyone out of the water. So after this, we go into the United States Championship match between Bob Lashley and the Big Bang Theory, the kinetic theory, the behaviorist theory. What theory? Austin Theory. Austin Theory took on Mr. Bob Lashley for the United States Championship. This was not as good as their Money in the Bank ladder match. A very missable match, but it was a decent little sprint for what it was, but probably the second worst match of the night. Out of all the matches that we saw, probably the second worst match of the night. So Theory attacked Lashley with the briefcase right before the match started. So he tried to get an early advantage. He tried to get an early advantage on Bobby Lashley, did Mr. Austin Theory. Theory then wanted the bell to ring. Ring the bell. So the bell rang. Theory with a roll-through blockbuster on Lashley for a 2. Lashley then mounted a comeback with a big spine buster. Theory tried to walk away with his briefcase. Lashley stopped him. He sent him into the barricade. And then Theory, he came back with a roll-through drop kick on Lashley. That got a 2 count. Lashley tried to mount the comeback. He had a nice power slam on Theory. British Bulldog-esque power slam. And then we had a roll-through. This was probably the best spot of the entire match. They did this at Money in the Bank as well. Lashley, he was dazed and confused. He didn't know what was going on. We had Theory with a roll-through. He was going for a blockbuster. Lashley military pressed him from the roll-through and then dropped him right into a hurt lock. Very, very smooth. Silky smooth. Very nice transition into the hurt lock. Theory tapped out immediately, and Bobby Lashley retains the United States Championship in what was a match that was not as good as their Money in the Bank ladder match. Compared to their Money in the Bank ladder match, this match was a disappointment, but there was really no reason. There was really no reason why we needed a match between Theory and Lashley to go past 7-8 minutes. This was a very predictable match. All the matches were predictable, but I'm not really going to sit here and say that it was a terrible match. It was just not memorable. It was a very quick match. It was a very fast-paced match, and it did the job. The right man won, and that's pretty much it. That's really all I can ask for. So that was that. Bobby Lashley retains, And let's see what Bobby Lashley has in store after SummerSlam. I would personally love to see Bobby Lashley have some United States Championship Open challenges. Maybe get Cedric Alexander in there in a nice match against Lashley. Maybe get Mustafa Ali out there in a match against Bobby Lashley. Maybe get someone like a Veer Mahan in there against Bobby Lashley. Maybe get someone like a Damian Priest in there against Bobby Lashley. Maybe get someone like a Tommaso Ciampa in there against Bobby Lashley. Maybe an NXT superstar gets in there with Bobby Lashley. Let's see what Bobby Lashley can do with the United States Championship. See what we got. The Judgment Day. The Judgment Day versus the Mysterios. This was a no disqualification tag team match. This was good. This was a good match, but at the end, and again, this is not anybody's fault. It just no one cares about it. No one cares about it, and we'll go over why no one cares about it. But the match itself, from an in-ring standpoint, the match wasn't terrible. The match was good. Wasn't anything memorable. We saw it on Monday. We've seen these matches before, but it wasn't a terrible match. I've seen much worse. Wasn't a bad match. But again, there was just no emotional investment, no steam behind it. So we got a fight right out of the gate. Dominic with a tope suicida onto Priest. Rey with a springboard moonsault onto Balor. Back in the ring, Dominic with a crossbody for a 2. This was a no disqualification tag team match, and they're tagging in and out as if it's a standard tag team match. Kind of stupid. But the Mysterios, they were in early control. Balor and Priest then took over. They isolated Dominic. Balor with the Three Amigos mocking Eddie Guerrero. So we had Dominic coming back with a running neck breaker. We had Rey with a springboard crossbody, seated senton, and a wheelbarrow bulldog to Damian Priest. Rey then took a chair from Finn Balor, and he used the chair, bashing Damian Priest. Rey then delivered a baseball slide underneath the rope with a chair, and he crashed and burned right onto onto Finn Balor. Don't know why I'm thinking about Randy Orton there. So Balor was then taken out momentarily. Damian Priest delivered a very nice-looking super kick to Mr. Mysterio for a 2 count. Balor then tagged in, and I don't know about you, but when Rey Mysterio has the 619 intercepted, when someone comes in out of nowhere and just clotheslines the shit out of Rey Mysterio, it looks really good. Balor, this was a wicked fucking lariat by Balor to Mysterio. That looked very nice. Balor came in with the huge lariat, shotgun drop kick. Dominic then stopped a coup de grace from happening. Rey went up to the top, delivered a super Hurricane Rana from the top. Priest saved the match. Mysterios were then tripped up by Rhea Ripley. Again, no DQ, but yet they were tagging in and out. Very illogical decision right there. A lot of people were actually calling that shit out. So Ripley dropped the Mysterios and then dropped Dominic face first on the apron with a forward Russian leg sweep. Priest then delivered a South of Heaven. Finn Balor was then motioning for a chair. I think he was going to deliver a coup de grace with a chair or possibly a concerto. All of a sudden, the lights go out, and there was this platform. There was this stage, this platform out on the entranceway. All of a sudden, we saw fire and these pyrotechnics come up from the stage, and Edge. He looked like a combination between the Brood and what's the word I'm looking for? He looked like one of those badass fucking biker. He looked like a combination of the Brood and Ghost Rider. He looked badass. So Edge, he rose up from the stage looking like a combo of the Ghost Rider and the Brood. He marched down to the ring. He dropped Priest with a big boot, cut Balor in half with a spear. Then he speared Priest. Balor was then taken out with a double 619. Rey hit a splash, and Rey Mysterio pinned. He pinned Finn Balor for the 1-2-3 victory, and Rey Mysterio gets the win. Good match. The match was not bad from an in-ring standpoint. I didn't hate it, but the Judgment Day is dead. The Judgment Day is dead. There's no emotional connection, and that's not Balor's fault. That's not Priest's fault. That's not Rhea Ripley's fault. That's not Ray's fault. That's not Dominic's fault, and that's certainly not Edge's fault. It's Bruce and Vince's fault. Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon absolutely killed any emotional investment that anyone had in any of these individuals. Judgment Day was going to succeed because of Edge, and they kicked Edge out of pure pettiness, and then they didn't even do any supernatural elements just to add on top of that pettiness towards Edge. And they wanted to build up Judgment Day in their own light. So now what we're looking at here is 6 individuals, Judgment Day, the Mysterios, and Edge, 6 individuals who have been absolutely fucking buried and ruined beyond a reasonable doubt by Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard. Edge, realistically, I would have preferred Edge rejoining Judgment Day, because then Edge could have really rebuilt Judgment Day and built it in a sense of, oh shit, now we're supposed to care about them because now they're actually being booked well. Now Judgment Day is actually gaining momentum. They're gaining steam behind them. Now have a reason to care about Judgment Day. We don't have a reason to care about Judgment Day because they kicked Edge out and they pretty much cut Judgment Day's legs out from under them and destroyed him before they even had a chance to get the ball rolling. So at the end of the day, there's really no reason to care about Judgment Day. And there's no reason to care about Edge either. It is all in the booking. Triple H had no choice. I don't care about Judgment Day. At the end of the day, I would just end the fucking group. Looks like we're getting Edge and Finn Balor potentially at Clash at the Castle. Maybe we see a 6-man tag. I don't know who Judgment Day is going to enlist to help them fight Edge and the Mysterios. We'll see what happens there, but don't know why. Don't know why anyone should care. There's no reason why anyone should care. So at the end of the fucking day, it was a good match. It's a fine match. I have no problem with the in-ring work. Balor is a main event guy. Ray and Dominic are a good tag team. They deserve a hell of a lot better. Priest is a main event guy too. Everyone loves Edge. Everyone loves Rhea Ripley. But there's no emotional investment because of how poorly all 6 of these individuals have been booked. And there's no one to blame but Bruce and Vince. It's not Triple H's fault either. He wasn't in control until a week ago. He had no choice. So if anything, I wouldn't give a shit if they enlisted a new member. Just give me Balor and Edge, considering that is definitely a match that I'm mildly intrigued in, just because of how good Edge has been ever since his comeback. And then Balor is always great. Just give me that match and then have it be the end of it. So at the end of the day, no one really gives a shit. Good match, fine match. I'm not complaining about the in-ring product. But again, there's no emotional connection towards anything that these individuals are doing. That's Bruce and Vince's fault. We're going to take a little break here for a minute. Just want to check the chat. You guys have been lighting it up. 20 people watching. Holy shit. This is fucking awesome. You guys came in fucking clutch here. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Danielle Wolf. Thank you, Dee Dee. Thank you, Jeffrey Turner, Earl Cole. Thank you to DJ Sums. Thank you to Peanuts. Thank you to Hoolagrim. Hoolagrim's in the chat too. Drew on the Beat decided to come on in. Shout out to you, man. Shout out to Desmond D3. You're great too. All of you coming in clutch. Mac the Giants fan. He was on the rundown for Money in the Bank. Shout out to Mac the Giants fan. He's a cool dude, and he's definitely going to be a main staple on the Hardcore Sports channel. Don't worry about you being late, Hooligan. Don't worry about that. If you're spending vacation time with your son, you spend vacation time with your son. Don't worry about it. We're coming in clutch. I expect big fucking views for this stream. Holy shit, you guys, 20 fucking likes already. 20 likes. I think we can get to fucking 30. If you guys haven't liked the stream, you got to like the stream. Share it out on all platforms, social media. You guys have came in clutch with this stream, especially considering all of the technical difficulties that's been happening on Hardcore Sports. You guys have come in clutch, and I'm very, very happy to see that. You guys are fucking great. Shooter is absolutely correct. Any DJ Storm show is a must-watch because I am the absolute fucking best at what I do. Nobody can touch me. So, let's move on with the show. After that, we went into Pat McAfee versus Happy Corbin. So Baron Corbin was making his entrance. All of a sudden, we hear a choir singing "Bum-ass Corbin," and we look up to the top in the rafters of Nissan Stadium, and they had a symphony of priests or choirmen singing "Bum-ass Corbin." I don't know who made that call, but that was brilliant. I don't know who made that call. You see, that right there, and people want to say, oh my God, all this guy wants is a sports-driven product. Yes, I do want a sports-driven product. I don't mind comedy. I mind it when it's overexposed. This was a case of great comedy. This was a case of comedy that's not overexposed, comedy that's not overdone, and it's done in a subtle manner. I didn't have an issue with this. This was fucking funny. This was actually brilliant. So the crowd was hyped. McAfee came out. McAfee, he looked very good. He got new theme music as well. So shout out to Pat McAfee for the new theme music. So McAfee came in with a super kick right out of the gates and then delivered a Hurricane Runner from the middle rope to Baron Corbin. McAfee, with a moonsault off the top, he was going for his signature superplex. He did a moonsault off the top, landed on his feet. Baron Corbin then came in with a shotgun drop kick, almost Braun Strowman style. I didn't mind that. I didn't mind that at all. Corbin actually trying to pull out some new moves. So Corbin then beeled McAfee across the ring. Corbin then delivered a deep 6 for a 2. McAfee then came back with a pescado. Corbin then sent McAfee off the announce table, and he put the headset on, trashing Pat McAfee's parents while punching him. I didn't mind that as well. That they were trying what they could to make it entertaining, and they made it semi-entertaining. He then shoved down Michael Cole, who, by the way, Michael Cole, shout out to Michael Cole. Michael Cole is great on commentary. When Michael Cole is not scripted to say all of this unnatural bullshit, Michael Cole is a great commentator. Michael Cole may very well be, if Mauro Ranallo never came to WWE, Michael Cole right now may be the best commentator in WWE's modern era, minus Jim Ross. Jim Ross will always be the best. But Michael Cole, he was great. Michael Cole's a very, very, very good commentator. So, Michael Cole, he was shoved down by Corbin. Corbin then instigated the crowd to chant Michael Cole. So the crowd was chanting Michael Cole after Michael Cole got bullied around by Corbin. Pat McAfee came in with a superplex. Corbin kicked out. Both men traded punches. Corbin was sent into the post. McAfee went up to the top rope, and it looked to be the fact that the humidity was making the ropes sweaty, or the fact that the ropes needed some tightening. I don't know what the fuck happened, but something was off there. McAfee nearly slipped, but he caught himself, delivered a Swanton bomb, or what Michael Cole is calling it, the Swanton Bambini, or the Swan Bambini, or Bamboni. I'm not sure what the fuck he said. He said it was Bam something, Bamboni, Bambini, Swan Bambini, something like that. So he delivered the Swan Bambini. McAfee threw Corbin back into the ring, went back up top again. He then rolled off the top, jumped off the top with a roll through. Corbin accidentally bumped into the ref, and then McAfee, getting revenge on what happened on Corbin for what happened on Friday, McAfee with a low blow to Baron Corbin, Then he went suck it right to Corbin. And then he did a roll through Code Red, which looked very sloppy, but McAfee rolled through with it. And he got the 1-2-3. He got the 1-2-3. Fun little match. Fun little match right here. Nothing crazy. Nothing you're really going to go back and rewatch. But McAfee and Corbin, they did not do half bad. They didn't do half bad. Corbin has always been a very good wrestler. My gripe with Corbin has never been as an in-ring performer. It's always been the gimmick. Ever since he got rid of the Lone Wolf, Corbin has been the worst act in the entire industry. Constable Corbin sucked. General Manager-elect Corbin sucked. TGI Fridays Corbin sucked. King Corbin sucked. Happy Corbin sucked. Bum-ass Corbin was semi-entertaining, but it was nothing that I cared to give a shit about. The Lone Wolf was Baron Corbin's best character, and they should have never gotten rid of that character. They should have never gotten rid of the Lone Wolf. That character was going to take Baron Corbin to the next level. That was the character that would take Baron Corbin to being a world champion, and they fucking killed it. And WWE has nobody to blame but themselves. Vince and Bruce, specifically. Let's get Baron Corbin back to being the Lone Wolf. Pat McAfee, I don't know what they do with Pat McAfee. Is he gonna be a part of the Cardiff show? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't give a shit about anything that Happy Corbin does. It was a fun little match, though. It was a fun little match. They made do with what they had, and they delivered a decent match. Corbin is never a bad in-ring performer. He's had some bad matches in the past, but overall, Corbin is not a bad professional wrestler. It's all in his booking, and it's all in his character. That's why he gets shit on, and that's why people hate him. But this was not a bad match by any sense of the imagination. This was not a bad match at all. Little botchy here and there, a little uncoordinated here and there, but overall, it turned out to be a very fun little match. That's it. That's pretty much all I can ask for. So, Drew McIntyre, he came out, he brought his sword, Angela, and he cut a promo right in the middle of the aisleway, and he was hyped up in Nashville. He said he was hurt, but it's all worth it because he is going to Cardiff, Wales to wrestle against the Universal Champion. So what he did was he was then trying to hype up Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar as the first time ever. Obviously, this was a joke. First time ever, even though they fought over and over. That was probably a little dig at Vince McMahon for obviously relying on Roman and Lesnar over and over again. So he goes to some little kid in the crowd and he goes, "Hey kid, what's your name?" And the kid goes, "Colt." He goes, "This is the first time Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar will fight in front of Colt." And the crowd actually started chanting Colt. So that was actually pretty cool of Drew McIntyre to give that kid a nice moment he'll remember for the rest of his life. So after that, Drew McIntyre promised to win the titles at Clash at the Castle, and there will be no more part-time champions. Decent little promo right here by Drew McIntyre, and it seems like Drew McIntyre is all but confirmed to win those championships, and I don't mind that. If I'm booking this, I would not keep the titles on Roman going into WrestleMania. Even though Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns is a money match, I would not do that. You know for a fact that that's not happening because that would just hamper down the fucking shows. We do not need Roman Reigns not dropping the championships now. We don't need Roman Reigns still as the champion, not appearing on shows every week. What we need to do is this. And you know for a fact that WWE still wants to do this. This must have been number one initiative for Vince McMahon when he inevitably handed over the keys to the kingdom to Triple H. It was to still do Roman Reigns and The Rock. We need to get those fucking titles off of Roman Reigns. So at the end of the day, McIntyre is pretty much all but confirmed to win those championships. What I'm doing, I am getting those titles on Drew McIntyre at Cardiff, at Clash at the Castle. I'm having him hold it for a couple months. Going into the Royal Rumble, I'm having him fight Seth Rollins, and I am having Seth Rollins beat Drew McIntyre at the Rumble. Cody Rhodes comes back, wins the Rumble. We get Cody and Rollins for the World Championship at WrestleMania. Cody wins, and then we get 8 Countdown, Futures Right Now, all that other bullshit. We get Theory cashing in, and Theory becomes the ultimate dick at WrestleMania, robs Cody of the championship, and we go on a 5-month journey for Theory to fight Cody at SummerSlam, and Cody inevitably takes the title off of Theory at SummerSlam, and we got that story being told. That's the only way that Theory as Mr. Money in the Bank would legitimately work out. Because Theory, right now, should not be cashing in. He should not cash in at Clash at the Castle. He should not cash in at Survivor Series. Theory needs to wait until next year's WrestleMania. If Theory wants to get the right reaction, and you really want to make Theory the ultimate fucking prick, have him cash in on Cody after Cody wins the championship at WrestleMania, and then Cody can win it back at SummerSlam, and they could tell that story. You cannot, and I'm telling you, you cannot let this go to waste. They have let the Money in the Bank briefcase go to waste so many fucking times. At this rate, Theory as Mr. Money in the Bank, it's already a fucking waste. But now you need to make the best with the cards that you've been dealt. Unfortunately, Triple H didn't take over until 4 weeks after Money in the Bank. Can't really do too much about it. But that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. The Usos. The Usos and the Street Profits for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship with a J-A-F-F, a J-A-R-R-E-T-T as the special guest referee, although he's got nothing on DJ S-T-O-R-M-S, because I'm the best. So, the match itself was nowhere near as good as their match at Money in the Bank. The match at Money in the Bank, and here's what I'm going to say. There's no way that they could have. A lot of people had high expectations for this match. A lot of people say it was going to be a great match. I had a little high expectations for this match, but I'm not going to come out here and say that, oh my God, these teams are going to tear the house down. They weren't. Because at the end of the day, there's no way, after the match that they put on at Money in the Bank, there's no way that they would have topped what they did. This isn't FTR and the Briscoes. Plus, this is how many times they faced off? This is like the 5th or 6th time that these two teams have faced off. So there was no way that the crowd was legitimately going to be fully invested and they were going to give this match every ounce of energy that they had. There is no way that this match was going to top the last match that they did, especially after everyone has seen these two teams fight 5 or 6 times within the last 11 months. We've seen it. So at the end of the day, there was no way that they were going to top what they did. It becomes very hard to top what you did when it keeps on happening and people just get sick of it. Not saying that this was bad. It was a fine little tag team match. It was a decent little tag team match, but there was no way that it was going to be as good as what happened at Money in the Bank. Not a bad match, though. Not a bad match, though. But at the end of the day, there was no way it was going to be as good as what happened at Money in the Bank. I will say this, though. I will give my props to Jeff Jarrett because Jeff Jarrett, he looked like he's been officiating for 5 to 10 years. Jeff Jarrett was actually very good as the official. He didn't do anything. He pretty much played a non-factor in the match. There was nothing that he did that got anyone excited. And to be quite honest with you, Jeff Jarrett, the main theme of this match was the fans pretty much just waiting to see what Jeff Jarrett was going to do. That was pretty much the whole thing. Is there going to be some controversy? Is Jeff Jarrett going to go down? Who's going to super kick Jeff Jarrett? Is Jeff Jarrett going to get taken down by the Street Profits or the Usos? That factor kind of took away from the match. But the match itself, it wasn't a terrible match. it just didn't live up to the expectations of what we saw from the first match. The first match will be the best WWE tag team match of the year. It's going to be very hard to top what those two teams did back at Money in the Bank. But this match, nowhere near as good. It was probably one of the weaker matches of the night. Not to say that it was terrible, but it was not as good as a lot of people expected it to be. So Jeff Jarrett didn't do that bad as the special guest referee. He was in position to make the covers. He was making sure he saw both shoulders down. There was no bias towards or against anyone. He called it right down the middle. So Jeff Jarrett, he didn't do too bad as a special guest referee. And he looks good. I will say that. Jeff Jarrett looks good. Looks very good. So Jimmy Uso wore down Dawkins early before Ford tagged in. Ford with a big crossbody, clothesline, and some stiff kicks. He had a standing moonsault for a 2. Montez with a rolling blockbuster, that got a 2. We had a back suplex neckbreaker by Jay. Jarrett was in to make the cover. I think Ford kicked out, Ford kicked out. Tag into Dawkins. Dawkins with a big Tope Con hero. And then he put Jimmy back into the ring and delivered the silencer. Jimmy kicked out. Enziguri by Jimmy. Tag to Ford. We had a pounce by Dawkins. Ford then caught Jimmy into a back suplex. Super kick by Jay to Ford. We had a double super kick to Dawkins. Splash by Uso. Dawkins kicked out. We had a double splash by the Usos from opposite sides of the ring. And Ford came in at the last moment to save the match. Jeff Jarrett then dodged the super kick. And he threw Jimmy Uso's foot out of the way. He threw him right into the sky-high spinebuster by Dawkins. Ford, with the From the Heavens frog splash, Ford bounced off of Dawkins like he was on a fucking trampoline, tried to make the cover. I thought that this was it. Jay kicked out. We had a double super kick by the Usos. Ford was then sent into the barricade. Double super kicks to Dawkins, and then the 1D, and the Usos pin. Angelo Dawkins, 1, 2, 3, one and done. Dawkins was out for the count. Dawkins was done, and the Usos retained. That was pretty much it. No bullshit. No controversy. No fuck finish. No referee going down. No bias. He did nothing. Jeff Jarrett did nothing. So the only reason why they put Jeff Jarrett in there was to have Jeff Jarrett in SummerSlam because they were in Nashville. Now, what intrigues me is, what did they have planned before Triple H came in? Was Triple H booking this match how it was always meant to go down, or did he modify something? I don't know. Maybe the match would have turned out worse if Vince and Bruce were booking it. But that was pretty much it. Nowhere near as close as to what they did at Money in the Bank. Wasn't a bad match, but it was rather slow, rather disappointing. But it wasn't terrible by any means. I know a terrible match when I see one. I watched Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey. Before we got that match, actually, Matt Riddle was in the ring, coming back from an ad break. He said his best bro, Randy, told him not to take crap from anyone, especially Rollins. Rollins then came out wearing a bright orange suit. The officials were trying to hold him back, to no avail, obviously. So him and Riddle had a brawl before Rollins regained control in the brawl and delivered yet another stomp to Riddle. I don't know why they canceled the match. Don't know why the fuck they canceled the match. It really makes no fucking sense for them to cancel the fucking match when Riddle clearly is not hurt. He's clearly not hurt. So I don't know why they canceled it. I understand that he probably wants to give it more build, but if you're asking me, the match would have made the show just a little bit better. The show was probably like a 6.5. It would have been brought up to a 7.5 if Matt Riddle and Rollins were on the show. I don't know why they canceled it. Doesn't make sense. It feels like typical WWE bait and switch, but Triple H wants to give this feud a little bit more steam going into Clash at the Castle, and it looks like that's going to be an undercard match at Clash at the Castle, which I have no problem with. Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey. This was for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Easily the worst match of the night. This match went 5 minutes, and it was absolutely fucking terrible. And honest to God, Liv Morgan, she is a very good wrestler when she's paired with the right talent. But Liv Morgan is not an in-ring leader. To be quite honest, I don't think anyone can lead Ronda Rousey to a decent match. The only decent match that Ronda's had was with Charlotte Flair back at WrestleMania Backlash in that I Quit match. Outside of that, Ronda Rousey's second run has been undoubtedly the worst run out of any women's wrestler that we've seen in quite some fucking time. Ronda Rousey's fucking terrible. She sucks. However, the finish of this match was perfectly booked. And this is another thing that ties into what Triple H is doing with the women's division when I said he's placing all of the right women in the right places. This is what I love. So Ronda came in, and she clearly was out wrestling Liv Morgan as it should have been booked. So Liv tried to regain control with a code breaker, but Ronda locked Liv in an armbar. Liv then got out, locked in a Rings of Saturn, and then hit Ronda with a crucifix bomb for a 2. Very, very sloppy transitions here. So Liv got to the ropes a few times when Ronda tried to lock in the armbar. All of a sudden, the ref called for the doctor, but Liv wanted to go. So I admire that. I understand what they were trying to do. As far as the booking goes, but the match fucking sucked ass. So Ronda locked in an armbar again. Ronda's shoulders were then on the mat. Liv got Ronda's shoulders on the mat with the armbar being hyperextended. The ref counted Ronda's shoulders to the mat, 1, 2, 3. But before the 3 count, Liv Morgan tapped out as the ref counted 3. And Ronda Rousey then all of a sudden attacked Liv Morgan, turned heel, locked her and the ref in an armbar. The match was easily the worst thing on the show, one of the worst women's matches of the entire year, maybe the worst women's match of the entire year. But the ending, the finish, was great. Why? Because now, like we've touched upon, all the right people are being placed in the right places. Now with Ronda being a heel, Becky being a babyface, now you know that this is going to be one of your marquee matches for next year's WrestleMania before Ronda inevitably retires for good and we never see her in WWE wrestling ever again. And that's it. This is great because now this gets Liv more over as a babyface. And one thing that I was very pleased about, but I know for a fact that this isn't lasting. This is not lasting, but one thing I was very pleased about is no Charlotte Flair yet. No Charlotte Flair yet. And I know Michelle, who is one of my friends here in Jersey, she mentioned in one of my tweets, she tweeted at me saying, when you hear me scream from a few towns over from you, you know that Charlotte is back. Trust me, Michelle, I know. I think the people down in Nashville would have heard you scream if Charlotte Flair returned. But let me tell you something, babe. I cannot stand the bitch. And I will never tolerate that bitch. She is a selfish, manipulative cunt. I love you, but she fucking sucks. I wish Andrade would knock up Charlotte so that way we don't have to see her on TV for a year. Match was terrible, but the ending was very good. It gets Ronda in the correct position as a heel. Liv gets more over, and now we look to be headed towards Liv, Ronda, and Charlotte, because Charlotte, I know for a fact, Charlotte is going to come back any fucking day now. Gee, we could very well see her as soon as this Friday. Charlotte is coming back any fucking day now. And at the end of the day, unfortunately, regardless of who is in control, Charlotte Flair is going to petition, and she's going to get what she wants because she's a selfish bitch. She's going to get what she wants, and she's going to get the SmackDown Women's Championship title back. Unfortunately. I don't want it to happen. I don't want it to happen, but unfortunately, that's where we're headed. That's where we're headed. Now, what should happen is this. What should happen if we get that match, Liv should retain the championship. Liv retains. Liv takes that championship into Survivor Series. Then we somehow get the Raw Women's Championship off of Bianca Belair and we put it on Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley or Bayley or Dakota Kai or Io Shirai, whatever it may be. I would prefer Rhea Ripley only because Rhea absolutely deserves the reins to take the ball and run with it. The one negative I have a feeling regarding this women's tag team with Shirai or Sky and Dakota Kai with Bayley, I have a bad feeling we're going to get the women's tag team titles back. And listen, I don't give a shit how many of you this pisses off because this is an absolute fucking fact. Women's tag team titles are trash. They are garbage. Women's tag team titles, unless it's in fucking Stardom, which is an all-women's roster, women's tag team titles should not exist. They should not exist in AEW. They should not exist in Impact. They should not exist in MLW, NWA, New Japan, WWE. Women's tag team titles are trash. They should not exist. Unfortunately, now we're going to have to watch them come back into the fray. Now, I appreciate that they're going to try and make Bayley's group a dominant faction, but at the end of the day, the tag team titles don't mean shit. But no matter who takes that title off of Bianca Belair, I would absolutely get the title off of Bianca Belair at some point. Get the title off of Bianca Belair, get it off of her, put it on Ripley, put it on Bayley, put it on Sky, put it on Kai, put it on someone, one of those individuals, one of those heels. Then I would do whoever the Raw Women's Champion is versus Liv Morgan, SmackDown Women's Champion at Survivor Series. You want to do a promotional flavor. Do Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion, Liv versus either Ripley, Bayley, Shirai, or Kai in a championship unification match. The Usos unified the titles. Roman unified the titles. Now it's about time that we unify the women's championships. Unify the women's championships. Then whoever has the undisputed women's championship should take it into WrestleMania, and then whoever wins the Rumble can take the championship from said individual. Can you imagine, now that Triple H is back in control, can you imagine if they're talking to Sasha Banks and Naomi, they're trying to get them to come back? Can you imagine if Sasha comes back, wins the Rumble at number 30? Can you imagine if Bayley's the undisputed women's champion and we finally get the match at WrestleMania that we should have gotten for God knows how many years? That would be the ultimate fuck you to Vince McMahon if Triple H went out there and did that. That would be the ultimate fuck you. I would love to see that. But I would go with Ripley only because Ripley and Liv, they got the history. That would be a decent story to tell. Rhea Ripley beats Liv Morgan, unifies the championships, and then Ripley could take the championships into next year. That's what I would do. We do not need Charlotte. Fuck Charlotte Flair. Say it all the time. We live by a code here on the channel. For those of you who are new or those of you who are not new, the code is fuck Charlotte Flair. Everyone, I need you to type FCF in the chat. You already know the drill. But the ending of the match, great ending. Terrible fucking match. The worst women's match of the year, but a great ending. And the right people are in the right roles. The foundation is being built for what is to be a great women's division when all is said and done and all the pieces are falling into place. The main event of the show. Before we get into the main event of the show, once again, people, if you haven't liked the video, please like the video. 20 people still strong in this chat. That's what I like to see. 20 people still strong in this chat. I love to see it. Please make sure that you are liking the video and you're sharing out the stream on all platforms of social media. We're going to talk about one more match, and then we're going to get on out of here. So please keep it going. Keep the likes flowing. Keep on sharing it out. 24 likes. 24 likes. That is what I love to see. Great shit, people. Great shit. So the main event. The main event was Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar for the 20,000th time. This time it was a last man standing match. Everyone and their mother was saying the same thing. Same shit, different day. Typical WWE. Happens all the fucking time. But, at the end of this, I'm going to go on record and I'm going to say that this was actually better than their match at WrestleMania 31. Took them 7 fucking years, but this was better than their match at WrestleMania 31, only because of the fact that the chaos and the craziness that took place in this match. This was an absolute insane. It was a demolition derby. Demolition fucking derby. And these two individuals, they both showed up to work and they both fucking delivered. This brought me back to Roman Reigns' reign in 2021 when Roman Reigns was having banger after banger after banger. This brought me back to that. This was easily Roman Reigns' best match ever since the what was it? The match with Finn Balor. The match with Finn Balor all the way back at Extreme Rules. This was Roman Reigns' best match all year. And Brock Lesnar. This was easily Brock Lesnar's best match since his match with Seth Rollins 3 years ago at SummerSlam 2019. This was an excellent main event. Absolutely chaotic. Crazy. So Roman, he took the mic and he goes, "Nashville, acknowledge me." Typical Roman Reigns shit. Lesnar came out. He drove to the ring on a fucking tractor with his logo on the tractor forklift. It was fucking crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a tractor right next to the ring. So he stood on top of the forklift on the tractor, and the match started with Lesnar diving off the fucking tractor with a Lutez press onto Roman Reigns. I don't think I've seen Lesnar do that at all. So Lesnar showed up to fucking work. I actually thought that we were going to get something along the lines of what we got with Jon Moxley, then Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar in that no-holds-barred street fight. That was a major disappointment. All that was kendo sticks and chairs. They did not put any effort into that whatsoever. 13 minutes, disappointment. So Lesnar jumped off the tractor, took the fight right to Roman, belly to belly on the floor. The match spilled into the crowd. They brawled onto a platform. Roman sent Lesnar into the steel beam holding up the ring covering. You know, in these outdoor stadiums, they have ring coverings in case it rains. That's where it was. So Lesnar then brought out a table. Roman delivered a Samoan drop to Lesnar through the table. Lesnar got back to his feet. Roman then hit Lesnar with the steps and then put him through a second table with a Uranagi. Lesnar got back up. Roman with 2 Superman punches and a spear. Lesnar got back up. Roman and Lesnar brawled onto the floor. Brock dropped Roman on some table rubble, which looked like it absolutely sucked. Brock's back was bleeding. Then we had Lesnar lifting Roman up on the tractor forklift and then just dropping him in the ring, which didn't look like it had any impact. Lesnar then went back into the ring with some suplexes to Roman. Reigns got back up and he got F5'd. Roman Reigns barely made the count. Roman locked in a guillotine. Lesnar then reversed it into a guillotine of his own. Reigns was out cold. The ref began the count. Roman got up again. Lesnar, like a fucking madman, he goes into the tractor with Roman still down, and he moves the ring. He shifts the ring a couple of feet with the fucking tractor, and then he lifts the ring up with the tractor where one side of the ring's tilting down, and Roman Reigns rolls down the ring through the ropes as if he's a fucking snowball rolling down a hill getting ready to cause a fucking avalanche. The last time I can honestly remember seeing something like that was all the way back at Extreme Rules 2014, but it wasn't anywhere near as crazy as this. But it was Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, defending the WWE World Heavyweight title against Kane in an Extreme Rules match. And I was there live in the crowd at the Izon Center to watch that main event, and it was a great main event. Bryan brought a forklift out to the ring and did a fucking diving headbutt to Kane off the forklift. But this was on another level of fucking crazy. I've never seen a fucking tractor lift up the ring and Roman falls down. Never seen that in my life. So props to Roman, props to Lesnar, and props to whoever booked that. Props to whoever booked that as a way to make it creative and innovative. So the ring is absolutely fucking destroyed. It's tilted. So all of a sudden, the Usos interfered. Lesnar took them out. Heyman then tried to talk things out with Lesnar. He tried to give him the championships. All of a sudden, Lesnar said, you know what? Fuck this guy. He lifts up Paul Heyman, F5s him through the table shatters, and Paul Heyman's down and out for the count. If Paul Heyman was competing, he would have been out for good. Reigns then speared Brock Lesnar. All of a sudden, Theory came running down. He came sprinting down to the ring with a ref. He hit Roman with the briefcase. Brock said, fuck this. Brock F5'd him onto the briefcase. The Usos super kicked Lesnar. Lesnar got up again. Reigns with another spear. Lesnar got up again. And Michael Cole was selling the shit out of this. And he goes, that's it. For the love of God, count faster. Michael Cole was selling the shit out of this. This may have been Michael Cole's best commentary performance ever. Michael Cole was brilliant on commentary. So Reigns then hit Lesnar with the briefcase over and over again. Lesnar still got back up. Michael Cole sounded like he was getting ready to have a stroke. Lesnar was then bashed in the head with the WWE Championship. He got up again. Finally, Roman Reigns hits Lesnar with the Universal Championship, and they buried him, and the Usos buried Lesnar under all the rubble around them, and Roman Reigns stood on top of Lesnar with his pointer finger to the air. He's the one. Roman Reigns retains the undisputed WWE Universal Championship in what was a fantastic match. Fantastic match. Michael Cole and Corey Graves. Corey Graves undoubtedly has been the worst commentator in the entire industry all year. But Corey Graves was on top of his game tonight, as was Michael Cole. So shout out to both of those guys. Michael Cole is actually a very good commentator when he's not scripted. So shout out to those two. They did an excellent job putting over Lesnar and how he was just a monster, how he just wouldn't stay the fuck down. This was a fantastic match. Easily one of WWE's best matches all fucking year. Easily. This was definitely up there. This was up there with the matches that Cody and Rollins put on. This was up there with that very good match with Naomi and Charlotte back in January. It was up there. This was definitely up there with the triple threat match between Bianca, Becky, and Asuka back at Hell in a Cell. This was definitely up there with the Street Profits and the Usos from Money in the Bank earlier this month. This was up there. This was very much up there. And overall, at the end of it, a SummerSlam that looked to be the worst SummerSlam ever on paper ended up turning out to be a very good in-ring wrestling show, and Triple H came out in full force and gave us a lot of fucking hope for the future. So much so that I can honestly tell you that I am genuinely interested in what he's going to do for Raw. I'm genuinely interested in how he is going to present Raw, what he's going to do, how he's going to book it, and what he's going to format with Monday Night Raw going into Clash at the Castle. I'm genuinely excited. This is a great time to be a wrestling fan, and now we are going to embark. Like I said, we're going to embark on a journey that we haven't been on before in WWE. We're going to embark on a journey, a ride that is going to fucking captivate us. This is undoubtedly the best time ever to be a wrestling fan. The possibilities with Triple H now in control are endless. And who the fuck knows? Maybe within a year or two, we could very well be looking at a cross-promotional show between AEW and WWE. This is phenomenal. And SummerSlam, at the end of it all, probably one of the better WWE shows all year. Probably WWE's third or fourth best show all year. Shout out to Triple H. He came in clutch. A very good in-ring show. Was not the best, and it certainly was not a perfect show. Especially that Liv Morgan-Ronda Rousey match, and especially the fact that all of the individuals that we've seen with Pat McAfee and Happy Corbin and the Mysterios and the Judgment Day, they've all been booked into oblivion. So no one gives a shit about them. But the in-ring product, very, very good. And Triple H started his reign of power off on the right foot with a very good pay-per-view. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you. That wraps up this edition of The Rewind. You guys absolutely came in clutch. You came in clutch with a lot of views, 24 likes. We peaked with 24 people watching at some point. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Danielle and Hooligan, DJ Sums, Jeffrey Turner, Mitch, and AK, and Drew on the Beat, and Earl Cole. And thank you to D Cena. I know she's being followed by John Cena now, so shout out to you. Great stuff. Thank you to Peanuts as well. You guys came in clutch. Before we get out of here, as per usual, do not forget, like, comment, subscribe. Check out all the links in the description of the video. Share the stream out. I will be back this Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Set your calendar dates. Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time for the rundown for AEW Battle of the Belts, part number 3. I'll also be ready for the LFU on Saturday at 1 p.m. And, of course, next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time is going to be the rewind for AEW Battle of the Belts, part number 3. And then it's going to be a pretty mellow month of August until we get to the end of August, because Labor Day weekend is going to be the busiest weekend of the DJ Storms brand to date. I am going to be rocking and rolling. It is going to be absolutely insane. But thank you guys. I greatly appreciate all of you. And I will catch you guys this Thursday talking about AEW. But before we get out of here, I got one question. And it's the most important question that I could ask of anyone here. I want to know, people, before I get out of here, I want to know, who runs the IWC? It's a very important question. Who runs the IWC? Who runs it? I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Who runs it? I don't know. I'll tell ya who runs the IWC. Who? But DJ motherfucking Storms. And don't you fucking forget it. I'll catch you guys later this week.